Hey, this is Amanda for A Greener Demeanor. This week I want to talk about light pollution, why it matters, and what you can do to help minimize it. This is part of my 52-week series on trying out a more sustainable life, and we're looking at one thing each week to make our lives more eco-friendly. Last week we looked at spring migration and how we can help birds from slamming into our windows while they're flying through our areas. This week has to do with migration, but also the overall problem of light pollution and what it does not only for the birds, but for us too. So what is light pollution anyways? We've all seen the more obvious types of pollution like smog over a city causing breathing problems for people, or trash along a beach or a park or found in marine life, or water that's so contaminated that you can't drink it any longer. Those are some of the more obvious types of pollution. Light pollution is an excess amount of light. Obviously we do use lighting for a lot of practical things. Getting around in our cars, seeing things at night, but there's a lot of light that doesn't need to be on during the nighttime, and that's when you get light pollution. So it's not those one little things that are necessary, it's all those little things that aren't needed. Think about if you're flying in an airplane, you're probably not going to see one little porch light on at night, but if an entire community has all their lights on, billboards, house lights, businesses, skyscrapers, those are really going to add up, and then you can see the whole city lit up. When it comes to wildlife, think about how many animals are active at night and what they're doing. They're hunting, they're avoiding predators, they're doing mating rituals, they're migrating. All those things are going to be affected by light pollution. Those animals have been evolving for so long, and then all of a sudden, bam, we come along and we have these electric lights that interrupts everything. All of a sudden, your prey can see you coming, and that hot firefly that you thought was over there is actually just a light. It affects frogs calling and fireflies flashing. They're all giving off those sexy vibes, and we are messing it all up. If you live by the ocean, that light pollution can really affect how sea turtles behave. The females might lay their eggs in a less than ideal place, or they may even end up trying to lay them in the ocean, which is no good. And when the hatchlings come out, they usually follow that moonlight and the stars on the water. They follow that light into the ocean. But if there's a lot of lights behind them towards land, they might go the wrong way, and that increases hatchling mortality. And when you're talking about an animal that takes a long time to get started reproducing, you don't want to lose those hatchlings. For migrating birds, even though scientists do think they use a combination of things to find their way, that light pollution can lead them off in a place where they're not supposed to go. And a lot of small songbirds are attracted to, for some reason, they don't really know why, but they're attracted to lit up buildings. So instead of migrating the right way, they go towards those buildings, end up hitting the windows and getting injured from that. So why is light pollution harmful for people? Well, first of all, it's a lot of resources being used to make a product that's not being used. So all the energy that we're putting into creating that light, all the money that we put into creating that light, all the resources, and then you have a light on that just doesn't need to be on. That's a huge waste of energy, time, resources, everything. As far as human health is concerned, when you're talking about light pollution, it can be damaging to your retinas if it is too bright, if it has too bright of a glare. Think like Friday night football game lights being really bright. And the quality of your sleep can be affected, especially if you live in the city and you have bright lights shining in your bedroom window at night, or your neighbor's light shines in your window. So if there's light coming in, you might not get that really deep restorative sleep that your body needs. In our normal circadian rhythms throughout the day, that's like our rhythm of waking and sleeping over and over and over again, day to day. In those normal rhythms, when the lights start to get dim, we get triggered in our brain to start producing melatonin, which makes us drowsy and helps us fall asleep. If you have all these different lights coming at you, your brain is going to get confused, and it's not going to produce that melatonin the way it should. And any parent of a newborn that's not sleeping a lot can tell you that your sleep is very important for functioning for the rest of the day. And the other thing is, it's just nice to look at stars. Like, who doesn't like to look out at the night sky and see stars, right? There's people in the world that will never see the Milky Way if they never go out of their city, if there's a lot of light pollution there. And also, researchers that are studying the sky need to be able to see it to learn anything about it. So light pollution can really affect that. So what can you do to help minimize light pollution? The first one's going to be turn off any lights at night if you're not using them. If you don't need them, turn them off. It's going to save you money and it'll help out. Another thing is to close any curtains, blinds, or shades that you have when you have lights on inside the house so that it doesn't get scattered outside. If you're in the market for new outdoor lighting, look for IDA approved lights. So that's going to give you the International Dark Sky Association third-party certification for those outdoor lights. And what they're looking for when they certify lights is that those lights are going to be shining downwards so the light isn't being scattered up into the sky. The other thing those lights are going to be looking at is the correlated color temperature of the light. So whether that light is really an amber color or more of a white or a blue color. So that CCT, or you might see it in Kelvins as a K, you're looking for a CCT of 3,000 and under. So you're looking more at those amber colored lights instead of the really short wavelength blue lights that are really, really bright. Here's the lights we picked for our front of our house for outdoors, in front of the garage. There's a little light that escapes across the sides, but the light faces downward and there's hardly any light that comes up to the top, and it's underneath a roof anyways, so that's what we picked. It's not IDA approved, but it's pretty close to what it would be for certification. If you're worried about turning your lights off at night for safety, consider putting them on a timer or get a motion sensor light for outdoors. That's what we use. It's a motion sensor light in our yard, and sometimes it does occasionally go off if like a moth flies right in front of it or a frog or our dog goes there. But we put them right where people would have to walk to access our house. So if anyone were to walk there, we would see them because the light wouldn't light up. The other thing you can do to help out with light pollution is to participate in citizen scientist projects. There's a couple of them out there that you can help with, and I'll put links to them down below. Alright, well, I did a little nighttime stroll around my town, and I found out a couple things. Number one thing I found out was how creepy it feels to be not like a teenager and sitting in a parking lot after 9 o'clock at night, and that pulling in a parking lot is kind of creepy, and it's nice that there's lights out. I also found out that there are a lot of lights in our town that are on that really there's no reason for them to be on at all. A lot of businesses lighting up their signs, a lot of churches. I know there's probably something about having a light that shines up versus down over your church sign and how it looks, but a lot of churches, lights shining up all over the place. I just pulled into a church parking lot and saw this. Not cool. I don't think the big guy would like that. I'm just speculating, but that is definitely not a dark sky friendly lamp, having the light go around the whole globe there. Here's some of the field lights our city put in. They're shining like straight down, no light is going up. They are bright, but they do shine down. And then I kind of just saw a lot of different versions of street lamps that our community has. So kind of interesting to see the different choices in where they put those up. And I wonder why. At this point, you might be thinking, wait a minute, LEDs are on the blue side of that spectrum, and they are the more energy efficient lights. So which one do I choose? That's going to be where you have to think on the side of what's practical for the use of that light and make some trade-offs. LEDs offer higher energy efficiency, higher safety, a longer lifespan, and more control, but have a higher glare and can negatively affect both people and wildlife. Keep some of these things in mind when you're making these trade-offs. Will it be better for an area that needs to be lit up to have one brighter light or multiple smaller lights? How much light is needed for the task, and where does it cross that line of being too much light? Is too much light or too bright of a light actually going to be harmful in that task by causing issues with sight? There are some options for filters for LED lights. You'll have to look at the housing for the light and if you're going to be able to direct it appropriately, and if housing dissipates heat all right from the type of light that you use. What is the light's luminous efficiency? Per watt of electricity, how much light is produced? Look at the L70, which tells you lumen depreciation and the expected amount of time of use before a bulb hits 70% of its original output. And if all that is way too overwhelming and complicated, just think about where you hang out at night and where you hang out during the day, and which bulbs would be best for those different tasks. If you have any other ideas on how to help with light pollution, put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you want more sustainable and eco-friendly tips, subscribe and hit the bell down below, or follow along on the blog or social media. Bye-bye.